You ever have one of those moments where you think, yeah, life's about to flip upside down, and I can already hear the glass shattering? That was me, late one sunburned afternoon, just trying to make it through another day at Whitmore University, when I heard this commotion echoing across the courtyard. And let me tell you, it was the kind that chills you, even after everything I'd seen in Afghanistan, even after watching the world twist itself inside out a dozen times. Three fraternity boys, designer sneakers, million-dollar haircuts, that ugly air of entitlement. Had Grace Morgan backed up near the fountain, their laughter bouncing around the brick like a warning. One of them, the loudest, grabbed her arm, scattering her textbooks, like her whole life was just something for them to toss around. And I'd had enough of bullies in every language, every country, so before I could even think about consequences or university protocols, I was there. Just my presence was enough to get them to let go, to make him realize not everyone's going to stand by and watch. Grace. She looked up at me with these bright green eyes, eyes that seemed to know a whole lot more than you'd expect for a girl barely into her 20s, and right then, I realized she wasn't waiting for a hero. She was just hoping for someone to see her. Just her, not a story, not a project. For me, life had become a series of routines since Sarah died 2 years back. Coffee strong enough to burn a hole through your stomach, lesson plans spread across the kitchen counter, a quick check on Tommy, my 9-year-old son, who still clung to his mom's old stuffed bunny like it was the only safe thing left in the world. I'd lost so much. My leg in Kandahar, my certainty about how the world's supposed to work, the woman I loved to a drunk driver on a Tuesday night. No warning, no justice, just gone. Now, I drove my old Honda Civic to campus every morning, took comfort in simple things, reliability, predictability, a classroom where, for an hour or so, I could pretend life made sense. That was the world I brought into my job, teaching physical fitness for non-athletes to a bunch of kids who thought adversity was a C+ on their midterm, who wore more on their wrists than I made in a week. And that's where Grace showed up, tucked in the back of the group, not hiding, just watching, listening. Unlike the others, she wasn't scrolling through her phone, wasn't whispering to friends, just paying attention, like maybe what I said actually mattered. The first day, after a tough self-defense drill, I pulled her aside. "You're holding back," I told her. "And in a real fight, hesitation gets you hurt." She blushed, told me she was always more academic. Never had to be physical, never had to trust her instincts over her intellect. But I offered her extra practice during office hours, and you could see her thinking it over, not because she needed a grade, but because she wanted to get better. And she showed up every time. What I didn't expect was how much I'd look forward to those Wednesday sessions. She worked hard, learned fast, but she also asked questions, good ones, about how to avoid a fight, how to make choices you could live with later. One day, I let something slip about my time in the Army. 2 tours, a lot of lessons learned the hard way, and she listened, not with awe, but with genuine curiosity. She asked about my son, about what mattered after all the chaos, and little by little, I found myself telling her things I hadn't told anyone in years. It felt easy, like maybe, just maybe, the pieces of my life were lining up for something good again. Of course, Tommy picked up on it long before I admitted anything to myself. "You've been humming, Dad," he said, staring at me over his homework. "Is it a girl?" 9 years old and already able to see right through me. I told him she was my student, that it was complicated, but Tommy didn't buy it. "Maybe she likes just Dad," he said. And man, sometimes I think he's got more wisdom in his pinky than I'll ever have. December came. Cold, sharp, that kind of weather that makes you want to hold your breath, and Grace had become part of our little world. She'd meet us at the downtown bookstore, help Tommy with his math, argue about which Narnia book was the best. Tommy adored her, and well, I was falling for her, plain and simple. But Grace was living a double life, and I knew it before she ever said a word. Something about the way she never talked about her family, the way she disappeared sometimes when things got complicated. The twist came just before Christmas. She texted, "Family emergency. We'll call when I can." And then nothing. For days. I tried not to panic, Try not to let my mind go back to the days when bad news always meant someone wasn't coming home. Finally, she showed up in my office, eyes red, hands shaking, and said she had to tell me the truth. Her father was William Morgan, CEO of Morgan Technologies. The company on every front page, under federal investigation, stock price tanking. She wasn't just another student. She was heiress to an empire, living two lives because she wanted, for once, to know who she was when nobody wanted anything from her. She told me her father wanted her to drop out, join the legal defense, save the company, keep the legacy alive. 40,000 jobs, for generations, all riding on her shoulders. And she said no. She picked me, picked Tommy, picked a life that didn't come with limos and boardrooms. Said she wanted Saturday mornings at the bookstore, nights helping with homework, a future measured by love instead of profit margins. And let me tell you, I pushed back. I asked her if she was really in love with me, or just the idea of me. If she could live in my world, with my broken down car and my paychecks that barely stretched to the end of the month. She looked me straight in the eye and said she knew exactly what she was choosing. Not because it's quaint, but because it's real. That moment, yeah, that was the turning point. We didn't make some grand, movie-style proposal. Just two people, scared but honest, promising to try for something better than either of us ever expected. When Tommy saw us, he just grinned and said, "About time." Like he'd been waiting for us to figure it out all along. 3 months later, Grace graduated and took a job with the public defender's office, making a tenth of what her family's company offered. First case, defending a mom caught stealing formula. She said she'd never felt more proud or more alive. The luxury stuff, sure, sometimes she missed it, the easy way money could solve problems. But when she watched me and Tommy, when she saw how hard we worked for every little victory, she said it made her love mean something. Her father came to the wedding, small, quiet, nothing flashy, and sat in the back, never said much. Maybe he didn't understand. Maybe he never would that we walked out of the chapel hand in hand, Tommy between us, and for the first time, Grace said she finally felt like she was where she belonged. Only regret is it took me 22 years to figure out who I was supposed to be, she told us, and Tommy, bless him, just squeezed her hand and said, "Better late than never." So here's the thing. You get to choose what kind of story you want your life to tell. Some people pick legacy, others pick love, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from the future everyone expects you to live. Maybe you think she was selfish, maybe you think she was brave, maybe you're not sure at all. But I'll tell you, after everything, after all the loss and heartbreak, I'll take a real life built on love over an empty legacy any day, because that's the only kind of wealth that lasts. And now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in Grace's shoes? Is it ever right to walk away from family, from duty, for a shot at real happiness? Where do you draw the line between loyalty and self-respect? Drop your thoughts below. I know this is the kind of story that starts conversations, and I want to hear every side.